Well, I don't think that's a sort of fair remark. I think it's important for there to be referenda on important issues of the day. We've had referenda on sovereignty before, and indeed we are going to have a referendum on abortion, and there are many countries around the world where referenda are commonplace on important issues of the day, where democratic legitimacy is at stake. I think it's important to test the view of the people. I'm not saying that there should be a referendum on every single issue that emerges in the post-Brexit talks. Let's be clear. What we've said in the press release is that if there is something that emerges in the post-Brexit talks that affects or potentially affects our political or constitutional status, then clearly those things should go to a referendum, because that has been the practice for many, many years, and I think there is common ground between the government and the opposition on that issue.
Talking of common ground between the opposition, you do agree with the Chief Minister's move on negotiations, but you're just saying that he has to be careful on how he does it?
It's inevitable that there should be post-Brexit talks. This is not a scenario that Gibraltar has wanted to create for itself. After the withdrawal agreement, we are now faced with these post-Brexit talks on a future relationship with the EU. So it's been inevitable that we are here. So we certainly back that there should be discussions to achieve a new agreement with the EU for a new relationship with the EU. And in the context of that, of course, you've got to deal with things as basic as mobility, freedom of movement at the border, and other economic issues, and indeed a whole ream of other matters that will come up in those discussions. So clearly, it's not that we're backing that the Chief Minister should get into these talks because he has decided that the talks are important or convenient, because even though they weren't necessary, we're saying that it's inevitable that these talks should happen because we are where we are and out of the EU now.
Isn't it a bit presumptuous of the opposition? You're in effect saying, go ahead with the negotiations, but it's us who would spot the pitfalls.
Look, I mean, we haven't said any of that in our press release. I've not used the words consulted. I've not said in the press release we haven't been consulted, nor have we said in the press release, have we taken it would be a rather arrogant stance that we would be the only ones who spot pitfalls. At the end of the day, what we do say is that we do know what our fundamentals are. We have been briefed informally by the Chief Minister, as indeed has been a TG leader, Marlene Hassan Naon, on what the process that is ongoing. But we're not involved in the discussions themselves. We're not attendees at those discussions. We haven't seen any documents. All that is a matter of fact. We're not saying we're the only ones who can spot pitfalls, but at the end of the day, the GSD has a track record of 16 years in government where we safely navigated Gibraltar's affairs, and I think we are entitled to say that there are certain key principles that we set out in our press release that we think are red lines: our sovereignty, our jurisdiction, our control, the sovereignty of our land, of our waters. The deal has to be acceptable to the people of Gibraltar and indeed endorsed by the people if it touches upon our status. All of that is not new, and all of that is things that the GSD has stood for many, many years.
Interesting that you should say that we are running out of time. What exactly do you mean by this? That we're likely to get no deal or a bad deal?
Well, we're in September and the transitional period expires in December. And we have not seen any document. There may or may not be documents that are floating behind the scenes, I don't know. But we are 4 months away, barely, from the end of the year. So I think it's fair to say we're running out of time. Remember that it took 3 years for them to negotiate, for Britain to negotiate the withdrawal agreement. We're now saying that we're going to negotiate the rather more ambitious permanent relationship with the EU that is not just to cover the 18-month transitional period in 4 months, not in 3 years. So yes, I think it's fair to say that it's a very tight window. That doesn't mean that it cannot be negotiated. We still think it can be done if it's properly handled, but it is a very tight window indeed.